It is Tuesday evening. Hello. Well, I'm never going to be a hairdresser. And try to shave my boyfriend's head tonight, which turned into a 2-hour debacle, it would seem. And now he is hairless because we had to go to the number 2 because it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So I have no future as a hairdresser, and I'm perfectly okay to proclaim that I never want to try that again. It's not something I want to learn how to do. I have no yearning deep inside of me to be any kind of hairdresser. I'll leave that to the experts. Thank you for all the things that you do and the knowledge that you have. One would think haircutting was easy. It would appear that that is not true. So I'm a little later than I want to be tonight, but all the same, I'm here. So happy Tuesday. You know, today, as I started exploring my morning and just figuring my way through my day, and yesterday really coming up against some stuff around this quest for success and the idea of significance. And today, being clear that, every day is kind of like an archeological dig. So I come out in the morning, I create my space. I'm really solid and grounded in my morning routine. I have some systems in place to support me to get through all of those things, some infrastructure, if you will, to support me best to keep moving forward towards what it is that I say that I want. And on a daily basis, I get up and I uncover something and I take a look and start to dust it off. And then I'm either in tears or in laughter or somewhere in between those two spectrums. And lots of times, all of the above. I'm feeling all of those emotions, and I'm crying in one moment and laughing hysterically in the next. And I'm trying not to take myself too seriously because I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, I've heard the saying so many times, don't sweat the small stuff. And truthfully, in the end, does some of the small stuff, like the fact that a 10-minute haircut took 2 hours, going to really matter? No, because it was in the middle of it, just kept looking worse and worse, like the worst Dumb and Dumber replica haircut, unintentionally. And we just went, you know what can we do? Laugh. Laughter is levity, and thankfully I know how to do that, because laughter has gotten me out of most of the really dark places in my life. My ability to look at things from that point of view and find the funny, which isn't always easy, and sometimes to laugh and cry at the same time, which I'm practiced at. So today, as I started my archeological dig, trying to understand what it is that I'm doing. And, 3-4 weeks ago, granted, I started a process and I can go back and visibly see the transformation that's happened. And those things are building on top of each other, right? So it wouldn't be, if I didn't have day 35, I wouldn't have day 36. If I didn't have day 42, I wouldn't have day 43. So the archeological dig that happens on that day leads to the pieces being put into place and falling together for the next day. So I don't know why it is, because I logically understand these things, but emotionally I get wrought up and stuck up in this place of, well, I know that I've always been able to trust it, but what if this time I can't trust that it's all going to work out for the best? And it's so ludicrous because I waste time spending time in that spinning place, putting my brakes on, being in resistance, being, all up in my body and not relaxed, when realistically, I have literally 47 years of evidence that I have always been taken care of, that my needs are always taken care of, and that everything has right timing. And so no mistake today, when I was 3 days behind in my Neil Diamond Walsh's Awaken the Species quest, because the weekend I just took some of that stuff off my plate. Today, when I was visiting it, it was about balance. Go figure. It was about him talking about technology and how it runs everything. And 85% of humans at this point in time wake up and within 3 minutes are on their telephone. I don't know what the allure is. I have that attraction to wanting to do that on a regular basis, but I know that when I decide not to, When I decide to put other things in more importance, when I decide to put other things like myself, my morning routine, the things that I need to be doing for me first, it's a different feeling. And yet I'm prone to going back to that behavior. Why? Because it's habitual. Because these things are deeply grooved in my brain and yours. These pathways have been grooving for years, cutting themselves into shape, and they're deep grooves. And in order to create change neurologically and create different pathways, I then have to start from scratch. So it's kind of like, if I was walking in the woods and there was a path that was really beaten and worn down and easy to follow, it would be like choosing to go where all the ferns and the underbrush and the jagged, pieces and edges are, and start forging a path in that direction. Now, it seems crazy because the beaten path is easier to go down, but if I truly want to create something different, then I have to be willing to do, think, act, say something different. And use my discernment, because I know a lot of people in my experience, in my close circles, we all have a fear of missing out. So that thing comes and it's like, oh, ooh, that thing, I want to go towards that thing. And oh, well, but those people are doing that thing over there. And I really want to be a part of that. And pretty soon, similar to food for me, I am consuming so much good content, granted, all fabulous, really good content, but somewhere in there I feel buried and I can't get out from underneath that feeling. And when Neil Diamond Walsh today was talking about balance and how we've gone and the pendulum has swung so far in one direction, of course, from the other direction. So we swung way over here in this constant communication, constant at the palm of your fingers and your hand, the power of these devices, the social media, the emails, the messages, the inundation of stuff becomes overbearing. But we keep dialing into it. And so it must have a payoff. There must be a justification there, a payoff of some kind. And when I was doing my coaching call today for my nutritional coach, she said, these are all behaviors of self-sabotage. It's not necessarily about this or that. What's underneath? So what am I uncomfortable with so that I pick up my phone, so that I pick up my drink, so that I pick up my food, so that I go to work too much, so that I work out too much, so that I avoid feeling whatever it is that I'm coming up against? And really, realistically, sitting in it, examining it. I think right now, I think that I should know all the answers and I'm doing all this work, so I should have it by now. And the truth is, life is a lifelong process. I'm 47, it ain't over yet. So I am learning today, building on what I learned yesterday, building on what I learned the day before, and so on and so on and so on. And as I get the pendulum to swing back in this direction and somewhere in this resting place, somewhere in this place that I can create balance so that it's not just shove in the consumerism, whether that be the physical food or the content that I'm taking in, just allowing myself just not to have any stimulation. Meditation, writing, seeing, looking, listening, just quiet. And it's not normal. And so those neural pathways are just starting to graze the surface. And in order to make them stronger, I have to continue on with doing something different. Allowing myself to create the balance that I so search for. And that it's available if I choose it to be. And ultimately, I make things way more complicated than I need to by putting 25 million things on my list, and I can only earn my downtime if I get through all of the list. And I wouldn't accept that regiment from school, from any kind of authority figure, but for some reason, when I give it to myself, I accept it fully and I engage in those places. And I wonder, when did I stop using my discernment for really getting in tune with if this is for me or if it's that rush to feel something? Because I think quite often we rush. I'm understanding that my focused infrastructure in the morning is something that supports me. It supports me really well in all of the things that I'm accomplishing. And in my call today with my nutritional coach, she said, okay, so when do things start to fall apart? I'm like, in the evening, when I go to debrief and sort of chill out. She said, well, what kind of infrastructure systems do you have in place for that? I'm like, oh, ding. I got my morning down solid in my infrastructures and my systems that I utilize. And then at some point in time, I put that away. And then I'm all of a sudden inundated and filled with some anxiety. All the things that I didn't do in a day. Blah, 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 blah. And the truth is that it's okay for me to rest and relax. That is part of the gig. And if I don't find some sort of balance, then I'm all the way up all the time, which is an impossible thing to sustain. It's doable. I can do it, but it's impossible to sustain. And so really understanding that discernment is about actually letting something land. And I had done that a few weeks ago and it felt really good. And then all of a sudden, that groove, I forgot. And I started heading into that automatic response, the default that I have going on. My life is about lived experience. These things are about things that I already know and then putting them into place and telling myself some truths, creating different patterns. So if in fact my nighttime regiment isn't working for me and I'm finding myself reaching for food or reaching for content that isn't good for me or whatever, staying up too late, not getting enough sleep, drinking water all through the day and then falling off. Why is that? Consistency is the measure of success, right? That's what's going to happen is slowly but surely that's going to increase. It's a practice, and I'm practicing, and I love that I get to learn something every day. So I'm taking a look at something. I'm like, wow, interesting. I didn't know that yesterday, because all the things that I found out yesterday lend towards what I'm learning today. And it's always been that way. It's never not been that way. It's only when I get anxiety ridden and freaked out about why isn't this working and why isn't trying to control things again, that groove, the deep groove of the behaviors and the patterns and the things that have kept me safe until now. And the truth is that safety was an illusion because it kept me playing small. It kept me limited. It kept me from actually reaching into bolder places, because those places are scary and rejection is possible. And people, no matter how much, everybody may say that they support me and everything else, there are people that genuinely don't feel that in their heart of hearts. Thankfully, I'm learning how to reteach people how to treat me. And it's hard because we've conditioned our people to react a certain way and act a certain way with us because we've taught them how to treat us. And right now, I'm relearning how to reteach as I learn myself the new grooves or the new pathways that I want to create and what the old ones are, and understanding how deep they run, and that it's going to take systems and mechanisms in order to switch the pattern, to turn left instead of right, to turn right instead of left, whatever that looks like. And I have the ability to do that because I've proven that over the last 60 something days, right? So it just means that I need to pay a little bit more attention to those things that I want to create in the consistency of an all-day event as opposed to 3/4 of the way. and then self-sabotaging and beating myself up because I'm a loser and I'm not aligned and I'm not being congruent and I'm a liar. And, the truth is, those things are happening to me first. And so today it became a validation of there's more. I'm being called to more. More truth to myself, more actions for myself, next level. And so it's ultimately my choice whether or not I want to engage in that place or wander around pretending that I don't see it, because that would be easy. And I've done it for a long time, so I know. But the truth is, I get that the significance is in every moment. This whole thing is a process, and giving myself the ability, the permission, and the grace to do it as I am, which is imperfectly perfect. I hope you guys had a good day today. I hope you're sharing love and kindness with everyone that you see and meet. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow's hump day already. Can you believe it? See you then.